Here we are at the conclusion of the analysis of the second biggest choice offered to you in Skyrim. On the one hand, the Blades wait for you, hoping you will be the Dragonborn who finally puts an end to the dragon menace for good. On the other side is the dragon who freed humanity from the dragons in the first place, and helps you save the world. And in the middle, you sit. Most of you feel sure of who you want to pick already. You already know what to do, but are you sure it's the right choice? Over the last 2 weeks, I have examined every possible reason to choose each side, and I come to you with the objectively correct answer. If you missed those videos, I would suggest you go watch them, since they have the information I will be acting like you already know about for this video. Don't worry, I'll still be here when you get back. Still, before I say the end discussion outright, I still need to go over the most important facts in our case, and go over some things that I left out of those videos. Let's get into it. First, the elephant in the room. Paarthurnax is a war criminal. By every code, every law system we have, in every country you could happen to be listening to this in, he deserves the death penalty. Do you know the types of crimes that someone has to commit for people to still remember those crimes 5,000 years later?
Paarthurnax was the author of many atrocities during the Dragon War. Crimes great enough to be remembered for thousands of years.
Whatever they are, they have to be pretty bad. I hope we can all agree. There really isn't a way to argue past the points I made in my 10 Reasons to Kill Paarthurnax video. The only way to get past this first point is either to ignore his crimes entirely, or else treat him as some kind of being that never deserves any punishment. A hard sell in either case. In addition to being a war criminal of the highest order, there are all the threats of relapse I discussed as well. Paarthurnax and the other dragons live forever, or at least they live until they are killed. What may seem like a sure thing today may not seem so sure in 1,000 or 3,000 years. The greybeards attempt to make an argument about repentance in response to this.
Are you so guiltless as to stand in judgment upon Paarthurnax? Listen to your inner voice before acting. Do not allow the Blades to bully you into something you will later regret. After all, repentance is something you deny to Paarthurnax by meting out your so-called justice.
Suggesting that not only has Paarthurnax overcome the guilt of his crimes, but he sits before you a changed dragon. Curiously, this isn't the argument Paarthurnax himself uses to defend himself. Instead, he speaks of his eternal nature and of the effort he makes daily to overcome it.
I would not trust another Dova. We were made to dominate. The will to power is in our blood. I can be trusted. I know this. But they do not. It is always wise to mistrust a Dova. I have overcome my nature only through meditation and long study of the way of the voice. No day goes by where I am not tempted to return to my inborn nature.
For the dragon, it's not the forgiveness of his crimes and his nature as a repentant dragon that matters. He doesn't sit before you, a penitent dragon. Rather, he acts as an eternal being who has changed his mind and realized the error of his ways. Where before he believed in the correctness of dragon dominance, he now believes in an entirely different plan. This plan goes against his very nature, but so long as he believes in the logical superiority of the rights of others, he seems to be trustable. He's not asking for forgiveness. He never even brings up a concept like this. He seems to truly believe that if you think he deserves death, then that is a reasonable conclusion. Likewise, if you want his help going forward, then he agrees that you should leave him alone. Past crimes, forgiveness, and morality are not questions he understands. His only question, as an eternal being, is what you should do now, going forward. The reward is great, potentially. The risks are great, too. Even he accepts that there's every chance that he could relapse in the future. Another argument I made in that video is that Paarthurnax is going to now turn his attention and dominance towards other dragons.
Goran, I feel younger than I have in mental age. Many of the Dovaheh are now scattered across Kizan. Without Alduin's lordship, they may yet bow to the Vaxen, brightness of my food. But willing or no, they will give it. Fare thee well, Dovahki.
In that video, I was discussing the morality of our decisions, and this bears consideration in that vein. However, In the dilemma Paarthurnax proposes, there is only utility, and therefore the more that I think about this, the more I actually think that this point is in favor of Paarthurnax rather than working against him. At the end of the game, we have slain Alduin, and we return to the land of the living, where we are surrounded by dragons. We realize how deeply problematic our situation really is, or at least that's the tone. No matter how many dragons we have killed with the blades, or otherwise, here sit a seemingly infinite number of eternal, celestial beings. We're told that essentially these dragons are all here because they were afraid of fighting Alduin, and now they are afraid of fighting you. But what would happen if we were to die? Let's take this to its logical conclusion. If you weren't here, or if you had lost to Alduin, all these dragons would be out destroying the countryside and otherwise exerting force over the people of Tamriel and doing Alduin's will. So the question that should be on all of our minds is, can the Dragonborn kill all the dragons in existence before he or she dies? Or should there be some other solution to these hundreds or possibly thousands of dragons? The reformation of the blades suggests that they could take over for you and continue killing the dragons after you die, but even they tell you this can't happen.
Only you can truly defeat these monsters, Dragonborn.
Still, after Alduin was dispatched by the Elder Scroll in ancient times, the people of that day managed to do away with the rest of the dragons somehow. The people of Skyrim should be able to do the same today. If you have any doubt about the ability of mankind to rid the world of all dragons, perhaps the idea of Paarthurnax taking over for Alduin should at least be considered. His plan is to force the dragons left into submission.
I wish the Old One luck in his quest. But I doubt many will wish to exchange Alduin's lordship for the tyranny of Paarthurnax's way of the voice.
We can't know what this will look like. We either take over the task ourselves and set out to kill literally every single dragon in existence and hope we manage to finish the job before we die, or else we allow Paarthurnax to help us by reining in the dragons who are willing to submit to peaceful living, and together we kill the ones who aren't. We cannot know the outcome of either choice. We have to make a decision with the information we have in-game. With that, we turn our attention to the blades in order to better understand their position. I think exploring them has given me greater insight into their actual nature, as opposed to the one presented and generally accepted by the fanbase. I think they are liars of the highest order. I believe their true, complete nature is unknowable by design, that things were written to be hidden from us. First, I think we should re-examine the ultimatum given to us by the Blades. I think it is important to look at the full context. We enter the final acts of Skyrim main quest with the knowledge that we need to pursue Alduin into the afterlife of Sovngarde in order to kill him permanently. If you play the main quest with the Blades almost exclusively, you will have already recruited new Blades at this point, and can have hunted as many dragons with them as you have the patience for. In other words, you will have beaten the entire Blades questline. One thing you will have probably gotten used to is getting regular dragon blessings from Esbern as you continue to go out and hunt these dragons. Skyrim has a difficulty problem in that it usually results in enemies in the game, including dragons, being too easy to beat. But in theory, at this point in the game, you will have become reliant both on your dragon hunter allies and the blessing that gives you an edge over the dragons you hunt. In other words, the Blades were designed, at least in theory, to have a small but extremely valuable niche to the player as they attempt to save the world from the dragon threat. And yet, it is towards the beginning of the final act of Skyrim that two major goals become clear. You need help to trap a dragon in Dragon's Reach, and by extension, you need to bring a halt to the Civil War. However, oddly enough, the preservation of the entire world by killing Alduin is not what's on the mind of the Blades. When you go to them and explain the seemingly impossible task of bringing peace to Skyrim and then trapping a dragon, they choose that exact moment to make their own goals clear. And then they use the fate of the entire world as leverage in a harsh negotiation to get what they want.
Esbern should be able to help. He spent his whole life poring over every old book he could find about dragons and that prophecy. He's been digging around the records the Blades left here too. But we can talk about that later.
He must have returned to Sovngarde to feed on the souls of the dead. If you don't find him soon, he'll return stronger than ever.
The Jarl's Palace in Whiterun? Ah, yes. The old story about King Olaf's pet dragon. Ingenious.
Although it might be difficult to persuade the Jarl to allow you to use his palace as a dragon trap. I'm sure you'll manage, though. If you can defeat the World Eater, surely sweet-talking the Jarl of Whiterun isn't beyond you. I'm afraid there's a further problem, a serious one. I've discovered who the Greybeards' leader really is. He's a dragon. Not just any dragon, but the right hand of Alduin, responsible for many atrocities during the Ancient Dragon War. Until he is dead, I'm afraid my oath as a blade prevents me from offering you aid and comfort.
Instead of offering to help make peace, as the Blades have a connection to the Empire through ancient oaths, and also to the Stormcloaks due to their shared hatred of the Thalmor, the Blades seem to only have one thing on their minds: killing Paarthurnax. Originally, I had only ever gotten this request at the end of the Peace Council, which was the only time I'd really seen the Blades in a long time, since I rarely need anything from them if I'm not doing a Blades playthrough. And I assumed they brought it up there because they knew they wouldn't see me in a long time.
There's one more thing. We know about Paarthurnax. Until he's dead. Well, I'm sorry, but we would dishonor our oaths as Blades if we continue to help you.
In other words, I thought they had to say this now because they were unsure of when they would see me next. However, if you play a Blade-centered playthrough where you do as many quests as are offered to you, this makes less sense. Instead of them desperately throwing a demand to a distant and uncaring Dragonborn, they tell you their demand the moment they find out, which happens to be the exact moment you discover and make a plan on how to kill Alduin permanently and save the world. In this scenario, the way I am sure it was designed to be played, this would be like going to your ancient Norse school teacher and being like, hey, I have to kill Thor before he manages to kill too many souls in Valhalla. If I fail, he will come back and eat the entire world, killing you and everyone else in it. And your school teacher was like, damn, that's crazy. You should kill your uncle who helped you a lot. If you don't, I will literally never speak to you again. By the way, I'm aware that this is not how Ragnarok works, but for the sake of a simple example, let's just overlook that detail for now. Just to drive the point home, if you do kill Paarthurnax, the literal leader of the Greybeards and a being that is thousands of years old, before the Peace Council, the Greybeards will be mad at you and even tell you they do not wish to see you anymore, but will still agree to host the Peace Council out of respect for Paarthurnax's wishes.
This is how you repay our trust. Speak, and then begone. You misunderstand our authority. The Greybeards have never involved themselves in political affairs. I see. The dragon will lead you to Alduin, but without the Jarl's help. Paarthurnax has made the decision to help you. This is the road we have to walk. Even the Greybeards must bend to the winds of change, it seems.
I honestly thought this was a bug at first, and that Bethesda had not intended for you to be able to make them so mad that they will say they will not speak to you anymore, only for them to continue speaking to you. But it's not. The Greybeards and the Blades have a unique voice line depending on your choices when they meet each other at the beginning of the peace treaty. This is them if you haven't killed Paarthurnax.
We have as much right to be at this council as all of you. More, actually, since we were the ones that put the Dragonborn on this path.
We know what path you've set him on, but he has made a different choice. Paarthurnax is still safe from your malice.
For now, the Blade's memory is long, as you know.
And this is what they say if you have killed Paarthurnax.
We have as much right to be at this council as all of you. More, actually, since we were the ones that put the Dragonborn on this path.
I know what path you set him on, and now Paarthurnax's wisdom is lost to us, just when we need it most.
He did what had to be done. It was long overdue. My only regret is that I wasn't able to kill him myself.
This was always designed to be a possible canon decision. However, if you refuse to kill Paarthurnax, or simply decide to wait, the Blades will still refuse to speak to you, other than repeating their reasoning of why you should kill Paarthurnax.
Justice can be harsh, but it is still justice. Paarthurnax deserves to die.
Make your choice, Dragonborn. You're either with us or against us.
Meaning, you cannot get advice, or blessings, or weapons, or potions from the Blades against Alduin the World Eater during the final fight, where the fate of the entire world hangs in the balance. If you are going to make a decision based on who is most willing to help you, or based on who is the most concerned with preventing the end of the world, the choice is clear. The greybeards, and even Paarthurnax, who accepts that if this is the end of the Kalpa, the world will be destroyed no matter what, are better at both.
Some would say that all things must end, so that the next can come to pass. Perhaps this world is simply the egg of the next Kalpa? Would you stop the next world from being born?
They will literally help you no matter what, while the Blades refuse to help you unless you obey their orders. Furthermore, the Blades imply that they are there to help you, and that that's the entire point of their order. But I am far from the first person to point out that instead, they give you, the player, more things to do, rather than less. They seem hell-bent on filling up your tasks going forward, rather than lightening the burden on the Dragonborn's shoulders. One of the statements made by the Blades that had the biggest impact on how I view them is the one by Esbern, where he says,
Not just any dragon, but the right hand of Alduin, responsible for many atrocities during the ancient Dragon War. The Blades have been hunting him for centuries, but he was protected by the greybeards and then the emperors. Justice demands that he die for his crimes.
This suggests that the Blades have held a grudge that the greybeards and the emperors refused to allow them to act on for thousands of years. It begs the question, if thousands of years have gone by and no Blade in any age was able to make an argument to any greybeard or emperor that convinced them, should we really be the ones making the decision to do the opposite right now? Instead of this decision being made together by equals, it feels more like the last desperate Blades trying to force a solitary, uneducated Dragonborn to make a hasty decision outside of their own best interest. Furthermore, one statement by the Greybeards is curious as well. Arngir says,
Do not be so sure about that. Beware. The Blades may claim to serve the Dragonborn, but they do not. They never have.
I joked in my video that the Blades may as well be the biggest villains in all of the Elder Scrolls, but the more I think about it, the more truthful this statement seems. Certainly, I think Bethesda's intention is to show us that the Blades are taking advantage of our lack of context. Honestly, the nature of the Blades has become much more sinister to me as I have done research for this video. I think it's fair to say that they are trying to manipulate you, to take advantage of the holes in your knowledge. Ask yourself this, what could be more important than the end of the world? Esbern even says this at several points.
Delphine, we're not here to rehearse old grudges. The matter at hand is urgent. Alduin must be stopped. You wouldn't have called this council if you didn't agree. We know a great deal about the situation and the threat that Alduin poses to us all. You need us here if you want this council to succeed. Stop! Are you so blind to our danger that you can't see past your petty disagreements? Here you sit arguing about nothing, while the fate of the land hangs in the balance.
Is he with you, Delphine? If so, I advise you to tell him to watch his tongue.
He is with me. And I advise you both to listen to what he has to say before you do anything rash.
Don't you understand the danger? Don't you understand what the return of the dragons means? Alduin has returned, the World Eater. Even now he devours the souls of your fallen comrades. He grows more powerful with every soldier slain in your pointless war. Can you not put aside your hatred for even one moment in the face of this mortal danger?
And yet, there is one thing for both of them that is more important than trying to prevent the end of the world: making sure Paarthurnax is killed. With the Septim Empire destroyed, and the Greybeards desperate enough to let you into their fortress, the Blades have an opportunity they have not had in millennia. This goal of theirs is more important than the orders of the emperors of the past as well. Why is that? Sure, the argument they use in-game is a strong one. I agree that war criminals should be held accountable for their crimes. But if my options were to focus on saving the entire planet, or killing a guy who committed a bunch of war crimes 4,000 years ago, well, I guess my attention would be on saving the planet. I just don't buy their argument. On the eve of battle with Alduin himself, with the fate of the entire world and everyone in it hanging in the balance, that any crime committed well outside of living memory would be enough to stop me from doing anything I could to help, even if it betrayed my principles. I believe there is something they aren't telling you. I don't know what that could possibly be, but the reasons they give us in the game simply don't make sense. And before you say anything, yeah, this could be an oversight by Bethesda or lazy writing, but I don't think so. The clues are all there if you take the time to look. I think this duplicitous nature was written this way on purpose. I think they are lying to you. I think the greybeards may know more than they are saying as well, and they openly admit that they only tell you the information they think you're ready for.
As for me, I kept from you only what you were not yet ready to know, are still not ready to know, as your question reveals.
And ultimately, neither side is willing to tell you the full truth about why the Blades want Paarthurnax dead. All of that said, let's bring this to our conclusion. With the information we do have in-game, my take is this. We ultimately have two solutions to the dragon problem presented to us. Skyrim takes place at the crossroads of two major world-ending events. The Skyrim Civil War threatens to break the Empire and break Skyrim itself apart, and the Dragon Crisis threatens the entire world. We are given 4 solutions total to these problems, consisting of the Empire versus Stormcloaks and the Greybeards versus the Blades. If the Empire wins the war, the Thalmor and the Empire will be bound by the White Gold Concordat to turn their attention to destroying the Blades. In order for the Blades to survive long-term, the Stormcloaks would have to win. Maybe that's alright with you. Maybe that fits your playstyle. I did an entire series on the Civil War where, in part, I go over the many crimes of the Empire and of Ulfric himself. However, for this video, we need to go over the remaining decision. Who is better equipped to deal with the dragon menace? It is hard to know exactly how many dragons have returned, but we know it's a lot. There are 81 words of power, so it's reasonable to assume there are at least 100 dragons flying around Tamriel, canonically. These dragons are effectively invincible, unless you, the Dragonborn, make an appearance. You can't be everywhere at once. The ability to absorb a dragon soul is a unique blessing from Akatosh given to Dragonborns, so unless there was another one running around, you have to put in an appearance. If your plan is to blindly kill dragons as you meet them, well, I hope you can find a horse that's able to outpace a flying dragon. Delphine seems to think that you and 5 Blades are going to hunt them all down by hand, but that seems a little short-sighted to me. They can fly. You cannot. Unless you find a dragon who's willing to take you that Delphine doesn't think you should kill, Paarthurnax's solution is, while frightening to think about, the better solution overall. He means to go to the remaining dragons and force them to bend their will to his. He wants to lord over them. Besides you, he's the only character in-game who can do this. Well, besides Marak, but, you know, he's doing his own thing. This plan to trust Paarthurnax could obviously go tragically wrong, but it's still more reasonable than doing something that's impossible, since, as far as we can see in the game, only Alduin can resurrect dragons. So as of his defeat, however many dragons there are alive at that moment are the set number of dragons left. Therefore, any way we can whittle down the remaining number should be seen as the ultimate goal. We will never catch up to all of them, but Paarthurnax might. And the truth is, if Paarthurnax does turn evil, well, we're in the exact same position as we are right now. If our plan is to kill every dragon in existence by hand, why not send Paarthurnax to weed them out and then pick them all over once he's done? The absolute most important reason, besides all the logical conclusions I can spit at you, is the way I feel. I killed Paarthurnax for this series and, well, it felt bad. I mean, look, I get it, it's a video game, and I never go to see Paarthurnax after the main quest anyway. I mean, hell, usually I play the game without dragons even coming back, and simply roleplay as an alchemist who becomes a millionaire. But for this video, I felt bad when I did it. It feels wrong. I think it's wrong. I think taking someone who's willing to help you and killing them once they are arguably done being useful to you is wrong, even if they could be a real problem if they wanted to. No matter how much logic and evidence I find, it really will come down to this moment. Do I feel better or worse about my decisions once I do this? For me, it's worse, overwhelmingly. I think logic is on my side, of course, but regardless, no matter what, I would make up however many rules to make myself feel good about my decision anyway. I won't be doing this again, even if it means the Blades sit around and are even more useless than usual. If you feel the same, make sure you rebuild the Blades before the end of the game. That way, you don't actually miss out on any content. But what do you think? Do you agree, or do you think the risks of a fallen Paarthurnax are too great? Fight with me in the comments below.
To help you remain tranquil in the face of almost certain death, smooth jazz will be deployed in 3, 2, 1.
I make video game content every week, so if you liked what you saw, betray an old friend who'd only ever been nice to you and use the battle cry Sistel Ravenrock and subscribe. It really helps with the channel. And until next time, I'll see you around.